And hello YouTube, GSmaniamsmart here, and today we're doing a brand new video for Gaming with GS, and today we're going to take a look at Guild Wars 2 and the Reddit developer Q&A that they had for the spring update yesterday. Lots of comments actually from developers here. Not as much new content as I thought there would be. In the last Reddit AMA, when Colin left, they leaked a lot of information about a lot of new things. This time around, not as much as last time, but still a relatively good amount to talk about. Lots of World versus World content though. They talked about that a lot, and plenty of things still to talk about in the video. So if you haven't even looked at the Reddit thread, if you're not on Reddit, then this video is great for you, because here's basically the summary of all the cool things that I thought were interesting, the cool things that I thought were important, and things that I thought you guys would like and you guys would think are interesting. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the general thing. They said that this update was clearly about fixing a lot of the current in-game content, but the next quarterly update will be focused heavily on new content. And they even said that they're probably going to bundle together the Living World story with the next update. Now, the next update, I think we can expect around July, I think, perhaps. I think that's when it's going to be coming out, around there. Not really sure entirely. That's my guess. So, we may be seeing new fractals next quarterly update. We may be seeing new zones, a new raid probably as well. Who knows, maybe they'll probably release the raid a little earlier than the quarterly update. Not sure, but they are saying that lots of new content will be coming for the next quarterly update, and that's the main focus. It's going to be a lot less fixing of current stuff that they have in the game and more bringing new things into the game. I've sort of categorized these into sections. So fractals is first up in my notes here. So what they said about fractals is that ascended gear is a lot easier to obtain now. Interestingly enough, if you do the 26 through 50 fractals, you actually have a higher chance of earning ascended gear than you do if you were to do the 51 through 75. Now, I'm guessing that's because 51 through 75 is sort of that range where either people are stuck and they can't really advance to that section because of the high agony resistant requirement, so they're basically left with having to do 26 through 50. And people who do have enough agony resistance tend to push all the way to maximum and do the master tier, which is 76 through 100. So it feels like 51 through 75 are sort of not as popular because people either can't get to that section. And this is just what I'm thinking. This is not what they said. They did say that it's higher chance to ascend it from 26 through 50 and less from 51 to 75. But what I'm thinking is that a lot of people either get stuck right before they get to that tier, or a lot of people just pass by it because they're aiming towards max fractal level. That's my guess, not really sure. I, for one, am stuck at like 56, so I have personal experience, I can relate to it. But the chances of getting ascended gear is even higher in 76 through 100. So still, the best way to get ascended gear is doing 76 through 100 fractals. But if you can't achieve that, then don't worry about trying to go to 51 through 75, because the chances is lower than whether you'll be doing 26 through 50. So 26 through 50 would generally be, I guess, what a lot of us will be doing, because if we don't have the AR, then we can't do 76 through 100. In fact, there's also a lot of ascended materials being rewarded in the highest tier of fractals, the master tier, 76 through 100. A lot of ascended materials are being dropped there. So even if you don't get ascended gear, you'll be getting a lot of the materials needed, which encourages people to do the highest tier of fractals even more. I'm gonna really try to get to the high tier of fractals. I want to get there. In the background, you probably will be seeing me do fractals, but like, I really want to get to that high tier fractal, mainly because I want to try to get ascended gear on my other characters. The main reason why I don't play my other characters as much is because I feel like I want the ascended gear. I know the difference between ascended gear and exotic isn't that great of a difference, but I just like having my stats maxed out, I guess. That's just how I like to play the game. But all right, so that's basically what they said. And then they're also trying to focus on less RNG. and focus a bit more on guaranteed loot. So fractal tonics may be implemented soon to sort of get rid of the RNG factor, which is great. I love to see that developers hate RNG just as much as the players do. So that's great to see they're doing that. More instabilities will also be coming. They're going to try to revamp some of the old instabilities, continuously doing so, and introduce new instabilities. So we can definitely see that. They did say that there's not going to be any fractal leaderboards. Some of us wanted that. I personally didn't care for it too much. It would have been a nice little a perk to have, but I didn't really see it necessary. So there's not going to be any fractal leaderboards. No work on that. New fractals will be coming this year as well, and the rotation of fractals will be changing. So some of the numbered fractals that are guaranteed to have a specific island, perhaps we'll see some change in that because the new fractals that'll be coming in. I'm pretty excited to see new fractals. I, for one, love doing fractals. I think they're fun, so I'm definitely all for new fractals, and probably that's going to be a next quarterly patch because, like they said, new content for next quarterly patch. And that pretty much sums up everything for fractals. They didn't really say much anything else about it. So let's go ahead and move on to PvP, which they didn't say much at all about it either. I feel like they didn't really answer many PvP questions. There weren't many PvP questions either, so I feel like everyone in PvP is semi-happy, I guess. What they did say, though, is that changes to the PvP build panel will be coming, which will allow us to have more build diversity. Not many specifics given on that, so a pretty general answer there, pretty general comment. All we know is that the panel of the PvP build will be changing. How it's going to be changing, no one knows. And they also said that there's probably not going to be any changes to the balance meta that is in the current season. That's basically all they said in PvP. Not much. As for raids, not much here either. Interestingly enough, though, they did say they were looking at making a easy hard mode for raids. So that's interesting because I still know a lot of people who haven't done raids yet. And seeing an easy mode for raids could be kind of cool for those who find the hard mode a little too hard, or perhaps they're making an extra hard mode. Perhaps what we have in the game right now is the hard mode and it will be the easy mode and they're making a hard mode. Who knows, but they're definitely looking at an easy hard mode for raids. That's up for discussion. They don't know if they're gonna implement into the game yet, but they're definitely thinking about it. They're also thinking about adding defense tests to the training center in the aerodrome. Right now we only have DPS training basically to see how much damage we do, but they're also thinking about adding some defensive tests as well, which is pretty cool. I like that. And lastly, they commented on that food and utilities are still being reviewed and trying to see if they can add those to the DPS testing, because right now food and utility is not included, mainly because there's just so many different variants of food and utility that perhaps it can be a little more difficult to implement that into the DPS. So we'll have to wait and see what they do with that. So that's pretty much everything for raids, PvP, fractals, and sort of PvE, I guess. Next, let's talk about World vs. World. They did mention quite a bit on this. There were some questions about whether the world linkings or pairings will be able to be previewed before they actually get linked. And it was pretty much blatantly said that they don't want anybody knowing who's going to be paired with who before it actually happens. In fact, there's going to actually be some worlds in the EU server that are very high ranked in World vs. World that aren't going to be paired at all. So they're still going to be a single server. A note that they did make about paired worlds is that they're probably going to have a lower population cap, and that many of these worlds can have more than one pair, more than a partner. So some worlds can be linked with two other worlds. We can have a trio link. But right now they want to focus on only one partner per world for the beta specifically. Now, one thing that we've always sort of had discussion about throughout the years now is that some spells and some skills on certain classes do far too much damage in a specific game mode, and a lot of people have wanted skills to have separate effects and separate damage for each game mode. So say for PvE, Fireball does 200 damage, and for the World vs. World, Fireball does 400 damage. Just an example, probably a stupid example, but that's kind of what people have wanted. They have told us that they're looking at that. They're slowly going to be splitting damages between game modes for skills. It's a pretty slow process though, so it's going to take some time, but they're definitely trying to accomplish that. Next up, we have the Master Provisioner, the new ability line, and this new ability line is actually going to have an additional Superior Siege provider as well. They're thinking of trying to add that because right now we only have regular Siege to be provided from the Master Provisioner ability line, so they are looking at adding Superior Siege, which is great to see. And we also found out that the world linking rotation is actually not going to be very often. It's only going to be every quarterly, so about every 3 months. They're going to try to link new worlds up. They want to try to keep world linkings stable because it's basically a manual thing they have to do. So for as long as they can keep worlds linked, they're going to try to keep them linked. I don't know if that means if like some problems occur, they're gonna overlook it. I would hate to see that happen. But hopefully if they see a problem occur, they quickly fix it and pair up new worlds. Who knows? But we'll just have to see what happens. World vs. World reward potions. Just like in PvP and the PvP reward tracks, we have these PvP reward potions that basically boost our reward track. And World vs. World are going to be adding WVW reward potions, just like in PvP, for the World vs. World dailies, so that we can boost our reward tracks as well. But that's going to be after the beta. Right now, we don't have any of that, and they're not going to be implementing that anytime soon until the beta is over. They also stated that there's going to be a lot of World vs. World polling going on, mainly geared towards asking the community what they want them to work on next. So that's kind of what the polling is going to be about. I think they'll probably have a lot of these polls on the World vs. World forum. That's what I'm guessing. And lastly, they talked about the Triumphant armor set. There is actually a Triumphant Heroes armor set. You should see some screenshots on screen right now. So if you have it minimized and you want to see the armor, I suggest you look at the video right now, because here is how the armor set looks. And on the left side you'll see the regular Triumphant armor set. On the right side you'll see the Triumphant Heroes armor set. They did say that the Heroes armor set is not obtainable yet, but they're going to try to have an acquisition method in the future. Now be aware, all of this was from data mining, so that's how we got these screenshots from that shaman, which I basically got off of Reddit, so thanks to him. That's where this image file is coming from. And that's pretty much everything we got from World vs. World. So the last bit I want to go over is just some miscellaneous updates, things that I found pretty interesting and things that I was actually curious about myself. Firstly, I talked about build templates. Having build templates in this game would be awesome. I've been waiting for this to happen. A lot of games that I've also played in the past, sometimes you want to change your build, and not even they have build templates. Seems like only League of Legends has build templates, right? Because it's meant to have. But I've gotten so used to build templates from League of Legends, I really want to have a build template for this game, for Guild Wars 2, right? So they have said that they're looking at adding build templates. However, it's only going to be for World vs. World first. So if it works for World vs. World, if they get positive feedback, if it's working, if it's stable, if everything goes fine, then they'll also apply the build templates to PvP, which is great. I'd love to see that happen. So we'll probably see that in the coming future soon. They also said that some of the bugs with the Revenant sword, they're trying to look at that. So if you're playing Revenant and you've noticed some of these bugs with the sword, I personally haven't because I don't play Revenant very much. So if you've seen some of those bugs, they're trying to look at that and trying to fix that. They also said there's not going to be any plan to sell the level 80 boost in the gem store, which personally I am glad, because quite honestly, actually, a quick story here. My girlfriend logged on to Guild Wars 2 yesterday, right? And the first thing she sees pop up in her face is the level 80 boost. And she tells me, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "What's the new thing they're adding?" And I guess she didn't really like it because it was like a free 80 boost. But you know, I explained to her that it's just to get people to Heart of Thorns very quickly for one character, which makes sense. Now, I personally don't like the idea of people just being able to buy these packs and just constantly level all their characters to 80. I don't think the developers want that either, because that basically means you can skip the entire game of base criteria. You don't need to do any of the story, you don't need to do any of the regular maps, so you can totally skip all of that and just jump straight to the Heart of Thorns content, which I don't think is healthy for the community, for new players, because there's a lot of great stuff in criteria that I don't think new players are missing out on. So I'm glad they're not making this an option, because I'd hate to have to see tons of people just power leveling through these booster packs. I feel like if you've at least gone through a story once, it's okay to do that, but I think a lot of people will be taking advantage of this if they do add it to Gem Store, that they'll just boost all their characters to 80 and not bother to do any of the core Terraria stuff, which is kind of a shame. So I'm glad they're not making a Gemstore item. But yeah, moving on. The shared inventory slots, a lot of people have requested that they should be moved, that we should be able to move these inventory slots. I kind of find it confusing too, like it's the first slot in your bag. I wish it was like the last slot in your bag, because it's kind of, I don't know, I'm just kind of OCD when it comes to my inventory. So they did say it's kind of hard to do that. They are thinking of trying to have a hide bags mode for that specific slot. They'll try to work on that, and we'll see some more updates on that when they get work on it done. Interestingly enough, this next comment really got me interested because, as you know, tailoring is super expensive, and crafting the light armor set, obviously I don't have to worry about anymore because I have the Ascended Light Armor. But even so, a lot of people hate having to farm for scraps, and scraps are so expensive. Now, there was a question that someone asked if there's going to be any way of gathering scraps or leather through nodes, just like wood and ore. I would love to see this because it's really hard to find certain scraps and certain leather. That's why they're so expensive on the market. They did say that there's no way of adding nodes for these items, but they are looking at a way to acquire these directly rather than through RNG and salvaging and farming. So that's good to see. We'll be having a way to directly get these materials, which will probably make everything a lot easier for tailors and leather workers, and probably decrease the price a bit too, which is also great. Now for legendary weapons, it was touched on just a bit. It was basically said that right now they don't have any plans of continuing work on legendary weapons because there's just not enough people. However, after they've gotten some of their priorities done that they're working on now, it can definitely be a future continuous project, which is not anything new. It's pretty much exactly what we expected and what they've already told us, so nothing really new there. On the topic of legendary weapons though, someone did ask why the price for the legendary backpack, the Ad Infinitum, the Fractal backpack, was so high, and it was stated that they want to have all the legendary weapons, armor, and back piece to have a similar price, which is why the legendary backpack is a similar price to a legendary weapon, which I'm not really surprised in because it's a legendary, right? It's supposed to have legendary status, so it'll probably cost a lot. One other thing that they also went over was a lot of people have wanted a buy in bulk for decorations. Now they did add a buy in bulk for items from vendors. However, you still cannot buy in bulk for decorations. And it was stated that doing this is pretty difficult because decorations are a different type of item than regular items. So if you've been trying to buy a ton of clouds, or like in Super Venture Box, buying a ton of clouds took a bunch of clicks, well, you're still gonna have to go through that because they're still trying to figure a way out on achieving that, but there's pretty much no solution right now for them. And the next two things, and the last two things I want to go over, are two quotes that I think I found really interesting, and I think a lot of people in the audience here would find pretty interesting too. Because in yesterday's video, I did mention that the dailies now award 2 gold, and the dungeons award 5 gold. So we basically have 7 Gs in the economy for free liquid gold, and I felt like perhaps maybe a bit inflation, perhaps a lot of people would find making gold a little easier now, and it would affect the economy. However, there was a comment made on this, and I want to read you the quote here because it's pretty interesting. So it stated that daily completion now giving 2 gold, we felt we had some room for increasing player income without risking major problems, but we will continue to monitor the situation. Most wealth in the game is generated by people who are very proficient at generating wealth. They can bid a lot for what they want because they have a lot of gold, and that process drives inflation. Meanwhile, the broader player base is just getting by, so we keep a close eye on how much gold can be generated from extreme farming, but at the same time try to provide a decent income for normal players. So I like the fact that they're actually addressing the majority of the player base that isn't rich, and they're keeping in mind that they still have to, provide some income for the general player base. And they realize that the 1% really isn't that big of a problem, because there are some people in the game that have tons and tons and tons of gold, right? because they just farm constantly, or they know how to take advantage of certain methods, and they know how to go on a trading post and play the trading post very well. And that's pretty much a small percentage of the game. So at least developers are recognizing that, you know, the majority of the player base still deserves some attention, and that the 1% isn't that important. I like it. People who don't have a lot of money, who are poor, are being given more opportunities to make money. So hey, I guess it's cool. And lastly, the last quote I want to go over is something pretty interesting that a lot of people have wondered since the expansion dropped for Heart of Thorns, and something I've wondered too. The Mordramoth fight, and hopefully everyone has finished the story, or at least knows how the story ends, because spoiler alert here. So I mean, come on, it's been a few months now already. So it's basically, you fight Mordramoth in the personal story, right? But you also then fight Mordramoth again in the Dragon Stand map. And a lot of people were curious and confused about why we're fighting twice. And essentially, we finally got an answer from one of the devs explaining what all this means. And I thought a lot of you guys might have wanted to know, because it probably bothered you. Some of you, one of the posts on Reddit, some guy really wanted to know this because it's been bothering him for a long time. So the quote is, in Dragon Stand, both the encounter in the open world and the battle inside the dream are supposed to be taking place at roughly the same time. The main battle is a distraction, so a smaller force can slip in and try to kill the beast from the inside. It is generally believed that just killing the mouth of Mordramoth won't be enough, as it keeps growing new mouths to replace the lost one. So they're essentially pretty much almost the same fight, because they're happening almost at the same time. That's the story behind it, so hopefully that's cleared some things up for you. Definitely cleared some things up for me. And that's pretty much everything we got. All the information from the Reddit AMA is what I'm calling it now, for the spring update. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you found some of this information useful. Hopefully you found some of this information new to you, and it's got you excited for the next quarterly update. I'm definitely looking forward to see what new fractals we're getting. Definitely looking forward to see about the build template, and you know, what Living World story is going to be offering us. But yeah, leave your comments down below if you want to talk about any of this stuff. Discussion as usual, I'll be down there answering. If you're looking forward to something, let me know. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, as always. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. I hope that this video helped you out in any way. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It'll really help me out. If you didn't like it, you can leave a comment below as well and give some feedback. If you have any other comments or questions, please leave them in the comments as well. And I usually try my best to answer those comments within the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on how busy I am. I also have plenty of other content on my channel about different gaming tutorials, as well as general gaming videos for Guild Wars 2, League of Legends, Minecraft, and any others that you may be interested in. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, check it out. And if you like what you see, you can subscribe too. Would really appreciate it. You can also check out my other channels and social medias as shown on the screen right now. And with that, thank you so much, everyone. And this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.